In general, pubertal timing continues to, in some respects, play a role in adulthood. Early developing girls may not be at risk girls. Pubertal development is linked with adjustment in many areas of life. Much of the current literature on timing effects supports the gender deviation pattern of pubertal timing effects, such that most common extreme timing groups are the greatest risk for symptoms of psychopathology. Because girls as a group tend to show outwardly visible signs of maturation a couple of years earlier than boys, early maturing girls and late maturing boys are most deviant compared to the same age peers. As discussed in our sessions, early maturing females are at risk of various problems. There are several potential explanations for the mechanism by which early physical development influences the emergence of adverse outcomes. These fall broadly into categories of psychosocial, biological, or selection effects. Advocates of a psychosocial process note the influence of environmental context in coming of age. Early mature participates a flurry of social changes for which girls may not be developmentally ready. Braden and Co. 1993. Early maturing girls are forced to grapple with social changes with fewer resources than late maturing peers. The early maturing girls get diverted from their routines because of depressed mood, where they tend to use mobile phones and not attend classes regularly, a student like Mia. Mia may be socially, emotionally, and cognitively immature. Students who mature at the early age must be exposed to many skills as much as possible to increase their confidence level. If Mia is not exposed to the level, then it will be a problem to the vignette, where these exposure must happen before the pruning and myelination starts. That is where the brain cells grow very faster. As Mia is interested in sports, she must be sports and visual arts. She must be concentrating more on sports and visual arts. If she is not exposed to the skills, it will be either use it or lose it principle.
Mia's main cognitive issue is that she is unable to keep up with retaining class content. From a biological perspective, Mia appears to have experienced puberty much earlier. Early maturation girls experience greater chances of psychological disorders such as anxiety, depression, and schizophrenia. Earlier symptoms of such disorders can impact cognitive abilities in maintaining attention and retaining information that is vital for schemas application. Mia is also stated to have only 2 very close friends. There is a lack of socialization in Mia's life, which alters her cognitive functions such as having lack of increase in grey matter, production, and limited cortical thickness. This phase is vital for absorbing and retaining stimuli from working memory to long-term memory. The stage of development is sensitive to social stimuli for better reflection, balance of social emotional learning, understanding and mentalizing other perspectives. Social deprivation causes Mia to adopt antisocial behavior that limits her brain activity to grasp new stimuli, explained visually or in auditory modes by other people, such as teachers. The vignette also mentions that Mia is also consistently using her phone in class and at school. The issue here is her split attention from focusing on class content. Excessive technology use leads to reduced attention and negatively impacts the ability to retain information. Overwhelming social apps have constant pop-up ads, notifications, messages, which causes Mia's attention span to be short and become easily distracted from lengthy stimuli.
Risk factors are features at the biological, psychological, family, or community level that enhance the likelihood of negative outcomes. Mia displays risk factors that are not only affecting her well-being, but will in turn harm her educational outcomes. These are shown through Mia being cyberbullied, not showing up for class, and her family having limited English skills with financial troubles. Researchers found that students who are cyberbullied have an increase in rates of stress, depression, and anxiety than those who are not. Ybarra and Mitchell, 2004, found that 39% dropped out of school, 37% showed delinquent behaviour, 32% engaged in substance abuse frequently, and 16% developed depression from being cyberbullied. Horton et al. 2002 also found that 12 to 14-year-old girls have the highest rate of self-harm already. With this in mind, Mia is at a high chance of these risks from her cyberbullying, which is impacting her mental state through the distressed look on her face after looking at her phone. If Mia is constantly focused on the harsh treatment received online, this will be impacting her ability to retain class content and pay attention in class as her thoughts are consumed by what is being said about her, as well as the worry of what will happen next. Similarly, students who experience financial stress at higher levels are more likely to discontinue schooling than financially secure peers. This could be as a result of needing to get a job to help out the family's finances or look after siblings at home so that both parents can work full-time. While Mia has a supportive home environment, there may still be the pressure to take on the family role of being a female, taking care of the family to assist with said financial troubles.
Nelson David in 1999 And a few years later, Krohn and Dahl found adolescence as a phase of serious neurological formation and social reorientation. To understand Mia's case, we can apply the social and emotional learning framework called the CEL framework. We can broadly categorize that into two brackets. One is the cognitive development, the other is the non-cognitive development. On the cognitive development side, Mia has got a really well-developed spatial, memory, and muscle skills, which can be inferred from her sports as well as from her visual arts interest. She needs a bit of focus on the time management skills. On the non-cognitive development side, she's got a good motivation. She wanted to do well in studies and she wanted to pursue higher studies. But she lacks the effort to back up that motivation and the commitment. She also needs a lot of focus on her communication as well as social skills. With just 2 friends and keeping herself to the phone all the time doesn't tell much about her social development to us. She also needs some coping strategies to overcome the stress that she's going through. We also found out that in 1995, Kwok devised a strategy for understanding the student's cultural background before applying the strategies for interventions. Casement in 1994 conducted an experiment which found out that the peer victimization leads to a poor medial prefrontal cortex development, which leads to poor decision-making skills. So if we apply all these strategies, we should be able to find out a good intervention for developing social skills for Mia.
Hello, Mia's dad. Come have a seat. I'd like to talk to you about your daughter. So your daughter Mia in my class, she's recently been on her phone a lot in my class, and she's also absent a lot. Now I've noticed that in class she's not retaining schoolwork, she's just on her phone a lot, and she's absent. I have a feeling that she's undergoing a lot of stress due to her excessive time on the phone, which may cause her to be absent. I've already referred her to school counsellor and other special help if needed. I do suggest that you help reduce her phone time at home, maybe engage in some social activities to promote social and emotional interaction.
Thank you.
It's alright.
Okay. The advantages of the interventions are research shows that adolescent will still value the parents' opinion, and sharing feedback would reinforce the positive behavior with the students.
The con of this, on the other hand, is that a lack of effective communication between the parent and child can lead to a further disobedience from Mia, feeling as though her individuality is being misunderstood.
For the second intervention, for Mia to engage in her visual arts profession, the visual arts teacher can encourage Mia to attend classes to improve her grades, to stop going on the phone in class, in order for her to go to a visual arts program. Since the visual teacher has connections with these, she's able to influence Mia to improve her academic progress in order to attend this. The pros of that is that she's able to delve into her profession and increase engagement with the lessons, improve her grades in general, not just in visual arts. The only con that's detected is that there might be a time management in regards to her probably having to work to help her family with low socioeconomic things, which, yeah.
On Mia's cyberbullying issue, I as a teacher would refer her to the school's student counselor, who are trained and have got a professional experience in managing such issues. The student counselor will also be able to understand the issues at a school level and be able to help not just Mia, but also increase the cyber awareness among the students. He or she may also be able to help with the stress coping strategies that is associated with the cyberbullying issues. The pro of this intervention would be that we are sending Mia to a more experienced person who can address it at a school level and be probably able to help a larger student cohort than just Mia. The con of this intervention would be Mia would not be able to open up as much as she would to a normal school teacher, and her comfort level might vary. And also she might be thinking that seeking active help could be looked down upon her by her friends. So we as a teacher should encourage her to seek active support and not be discouraged by going to a student counselor and having a conversation with them.
Understanding behavioral and neurobiological phenomena of adolescence may help to guide research and interventions to optimize the benefits and minimize the risks by JD 2020. As a STEM teacher, critical thinking is important for the students, and involving students in this method of studies during the early adolescence would be helpful, as the pruning and myelination happens during this time. I will encourage the students to have critical thinking with cognitive learning would create confidence in students and during the adolescence. The confidence gained by the students would let the students prioritize over strengthening the knowledge. Studying the field of interest would divert their attention and improve their skills and ability. There are diverse range of strategies and practices that are effective in working with adolescents. Research has focused on the nature of the characteristics of effective casework practice with children, adolescents, and their families. Of equal importance are practical strategies to assist young people in achieving their goals. Several strategies that utilize a strength-based approach are described in various literature. For example, getting to know and understand the young person, getting to know the young person's perspective and gaining their participation, looking forward with the young persons to describe the situation and identify solutions, setting achievable goals and reviewing progress. Being practical and achieve such as providing information, access to resources, encouraging the young person to brainstorm options, writing letters or diaries, facilitating social and academic supports in the school environment. There are various frameworks defined for adolescent development, engagement and learning. The adolescent-centered teaching ACT models have defined different methods to engage students' cognitive, social cognitive, and social emotional research with emphasis on knowledge construction. I would follow these models for effective teaching of adolescent students. Thank you.
This course helped me to consolidate my understanding of the adolescent boys and girls. Various phases of physical and emotional development of students helps me appreciate concepts such as myelination, synaptic pruning, which help me to explain how abstract thinking evolves. It helps me with an understanding of early maturing females, their body image, and why it is important, and how as a teacher I must be able to cognizant of it. On the cognitive foundation concepts, I enjoyed learning about the cognitive load theory in practice. I was able to relate these concepts to computers: short-term memory, long-term memory, overload, and optimal load. I found the 7 strategies on this cognitive load theory immensely helpful. I've started to apply most of them. I'm very fascinated by 2 of those, which is strategies 4 and strategies 5, which is redundancy effect and the split attention effect. I applied these approaches to explain the advanced geometry concept in my classes. I used to present and talk over the content in my class. I was surprised to learn that this is ineffective and as a result and causes a redundancy effect. So now I only do one of them and not both. I also have stopped the information being presented in multiple pages because it causes the information distortion. So I learned to pack it all in one slide or in one graph and one chart. I note a strong influence of the adults on their children, and the importance of their approval or opinion to these adolescents. So using this individual behavioral framework, I was able to ask the right questions, such as what options have you got in this problem and what are their consequences? What would your parents think of these issues? So in summary, I was able to understand the overall development phases, its physical, cognitive and socio-emotional changes going on. I also understand the available frameworks, including the cell framework and the cognitive load theory, and I was able to help the adolescent students through their journey. I feel very confident in an ability to talk to the parents as well as to the students to take them through this journey.
During this subject, I have particularly gained a further understanding of students developing their identity through the entirety of their lifespan. Identity is produced with the use of two concepts, self-concept and self-esteem. Self-concept consists of the set of beliefs an individual has about themselves, while self-esteem is then the evaluation of these concepts. This is important to know, as although adolescence is not the beginning or ending of puberty, it is the first time where young people have the cognitive capacity to try to find their identity and develop who they are or who they want to become. Through their identity formation, they will also begin to experiment with their appearances and behaviour, which is mostly positive, however can be risky when taken too far. Erikson is a theorist that established 8 stages for healthy development from infancy to late adulthood. Once a person reaches and then masters a stage, they can move on to new challenges. As a secondary teacher, I will be teaching students during their identity versus role confusion stage of the psychological development process. Through this knowledge, I will be able to support students' well-being and safety by understanding that this is a pivotal time of their development where they may start to feel lost in themselves and their surroundings. It is important to look for warning signs and provide assistance accordingly, whether that be informing their parents or carers of a change in behaviour for the child's safety and assistance with seeking help. It is also important to reach out to the school counsellor and respectfully alert their classroom teachers of other subjects privately. Passing on these details to the student's year advisor and deputy principal is also detrimental to ensure they are aware of the student's change and can follow up on the situation. It is extremely important as a teacher to provide an environment for students where they can feel a sense of belonging through having a respectful, safe space. Within the PDHPE curriculum, identity is a topic covered a few times from Year 7 to Year 10, meaning students will be more open to engaging in conversations regarding their own identity with me. It is important to project an empathetic and understanding approach to teaching and applying a constructivist approach to pedagogy. This allows students to draw on their own knowledge through feelings and experiences to build their own identity. When teaching identity subjects, I will provide students with a range of terms to help broaden their knowledge of diversity. With identity being a touchy subject to discuss at times, I will ensure to follow the do's and don'ts of classroom practice for anxious students. Do let them discuss how they are feeling and reassure them. Don't make things more complicated or overwhelm them with more ideas of who they are. I will ensure to overall have an understanding of the changes occurring in adolescents during their high school experience and be respectful to this for their development and well-being.
The Adolescent Development and Teaching Unit as a whole is very vital in learning and in practicing. It covers a vast majority of concepts that relate to the internal workings and the outside experiences of the adolescent person. Given that we are in the process of becoming teachers, our preparation is not surface level because the students that we will eventually teach are not surface level. Modules 2 to 5 focus heavily on the internal workings of the adolescent person. For example, biological foundations, cognitive foundations, adolescence at risk, and social and emotional learning. Biological Foundations explains the pubertal timing and effects, the hormonal changes that begin before puberty, the development of the brain, for example, synaptic pruning and myelination. Cognitive Foundations focuses on memory development, schemas, attention, cognitive load. Adolescence at Risk focuses on the patterns of behaviors resulting in impulse action. Hot and cold cognition scenarios, and social and emotional learning focuses on adolescent need to regulate social and emotional factors to positively impact intrapersonal and interpersonal interaction. What I have learned from modules 2 to 5 is the complexity of the adolescent experience. It is such a sensitive time in their lives. They're open to everything. Thoughts and feelings become abstract as their worldview expands. Self-identities are formed, shaped, and influenced. Outside factors such as family life, teaching pedagogies, bodily changes, peer pressure, and social norms also impact their experiences. As Stanley G. Hall says, this is a time of storm and stress, one that is entirely distinctive of other life phases. My teaching KLA is modern and ancient history and geography. Ways in which I'd apply my knowledge of the subject to my teaching pedagogies is by constructing lessons of historical events that fit the students' neural capabilities. For example, with these 7s, I wouldn't rush into communism, fascism, democracy, not just yet. I'd start off small. I'd construct my lessons and content smaller or at their pace. For example, I talk about ancient societies and how historical timelines work. This would help prevent intrinsic load on young Year 7. Module 7 to 10 delve into the digital era in teaching, helping adolescents thrive, and adolescence and schooling. These 3 modules help target the external forces around adolescence. Module 7 focuses on digital teaching. Future generations will be heavily intermixed with technology. As a teacher, I can help students gain fair learning by providing historical textbooks and reading materials electronically and with hardback copies. Module 9, helping students thrive is the main topic of Module 9. The way in which I can achieve this in my KLA is by constructing lessons of historical debate for and against historical figures. This helps students engage in a classroom activity, interact with other students, voice their opinions and perspectives. Given what I have learned from this topic, I believe it is an active duty as a future teacher to practice and memorize the theoretical and practical aspects of the subject. For example, with subjects such as cognitive foundation, workload matters by adjusting the workload, pace, and amount of content for the year group to prevent reduced attention. Another example is biological foundation. Students' bodily changes have nothing to do with us, but we can always find strategies as a backup in case something occurs in class. For example, an early maturing female adolescent is undergoing depression and showing possible signs in class. I, as a teacher, if I notice the signs, I can refer her to a school counsellor. And I can also adjust her assignments and workload so that she doesn't fail the class. There can be some exceptions that where she could submit whatever she can, whenever she can, and that'll be okay. As long as I've been consulted to do so, it's approved by my superiors, that's fine. You know, we are not just regurgitating information. Our actions, language, teaching strategies, advice extend beyond fact sharing. It is only fair to be well-rounded in our teaching pedagogies, experience, and outlook upon the adolescents, as they're highly sensitive in this phase.